Welcome back, Warner fam. Today, we're diving into the chilling 2024 horror mystery film, Outbreak. Keep your eyes wide open and stay safe. The movie starts in a quiet, eerie town in the countryside. Police rangers patrol an abandoned site. The chief officer approaches a container. He opens it, and suddenly, a rabid dog lunges at him. The officer is lucky. The dog is chained up so he isn't harmed, but the rope holding the dog's chain is fraying, ready to snap at any moment. Our main character, Neil, stands frozen, gun in hand, pointing at the dog. For some reason, his finger can't pull the trigger. His mind drifts as he watches an eagle soaring high in the sky. But then, it happens. The rope snaps. The dog lunges at the chief, biting him viciously. The chief screams at Neil to shoot, but Neil just can't do it. Panicked, Neil tries pulling the rope, but the dog won't budge. Thankfully, John, Neil's best friend, is standing by. With a single shot, the dog falls silent, but the nightmare has only just begun. Neil grabs his radio, urgently calling for a medic to help the chief, but the chief quickly cancels the request, saying he's fine. Calling for a medic just means more paperwork, he grumbles, not wanting to deal with it. When they arrive at the station, the chief pulls Neil aside. His voice is heavy. The chief admits his son is missing, and it's weighing on him. He confesses that it's affecting his ability to focus at work. Neil thinks the chief is about to relieve him of duty, but the chief surprises him. He's not firing him, he's just checking on him. The chief tells Neil that he can take as much time off as needed to deal with everything, and that's when Neil realizes how much his boss truly understands. Inside the station, the chief is being treated by another officer, but just then, his daughter bursts in, looking frantic. She's terrified that her dad might have caught rabies from the dog. She insists he needs to go to the hospital, but the chief's as stubborn as ever. He refuses, brushing off her concern. By the end of the day, John drives Neil home. John tries his best to cheer his friend up, cracking jokes and making small talk, but he can see it's not working. Neil is drowning in grief, even though he's trying so hard to push forward. John drops him off at his place, but before leaving, he urges Neil to talk to him. "I can help, man," he says, but Neil just shakes his head. He appreciates the offer, but deep down, he knows that no one can help him right now. Neil walks into his home and finds his wife, Abby, slumped on the couch. While Neil is trying to move on with life after their son went missing, Abby is stuck in her grief. She hardly ever leaves the house. The couch and the bed are her prison now, and she barely moves. She spends all her time staring at photos of their son, hoping and praying he'll come back someday. The house is full of boxes because they're planning to move. They hope a fresh start in a new place will help them heal and leave the past behind. But for Abby, it's like time has stopped, and the weight of the loss keeps her from going anywhere. The next day, Neil takes a walk by the lake, trying to clear his mind. He pulls out the watch he gave his son, back when everything was normal. As he holds the watch, memories flood back. The peaceful day when he gave it to him, knowing deep down that his son would never come back. With a heavy heart, he tosses the watch into the lake, watching it sink. In a moment of unbearable pain, Neil pulls out his gun and points it at his chin, ready to end it all. But then, he hears a woman scream, a desperate cry for help from the lake. Without thinking, he rushes to rescue her, hauling her back to shore. But when she turns to face him, something's horribly wrong. Her face twists, and Neil realizes she's not just a woman. She's something else, something infected by a virus like a zombie. Before he can react, she attacks him with wild animal-like rage. Neil tries to pull the trigger on the woman, but his gun clicks empty. There are no bullets. Panicking, Neil grabs a nearby rock and smashes it into the woman's skull over and over until she's finally still. Just as he catches his breath, he sees two more zombies coming toward him. With no time to waste, Neil runs back to his house. He rushes inside, grabs his radio, and tries to contact the station. But the radio's static is all he hears. It's useless. The zombies are right behind him. Inside the house, Neil frantically searches for bullets, but the boxes are empty. One of the zombies bursts through the door. Neil stands his ground. He picks up a broken vase from the floor and stabs it into the zombie's neck. Before he can catch his breath, the second zombie enters the house. Neil doesn't hesitate. He grabs a rope, ties it around the creature's neck, and pulls until the thing is finally motionless. The house falls silent, but Neil knows the nightmare is far from over. Neil gently wakes up his wife, Abby, who's heavily medicated and barely conscious. She's so drowsy she doesn't understand what's happening. Neil tells her they need to leave quickly and get to safety. He explains that something is going terribly wrong in town. People are getting infected by a virus, turning violent, and attacking anyone they see. As they drive, Neil spots the park and sees that everyone there has already turned into zombies. He makes a quick decision to head back to the house for supplies. When he tries to contact the station again, the radio still isn't working properly, but he delivers his message anyway, desperate for someone to hear it. John picks up the radio, but the signal is too weak to hear Neil clearly. All John catches is that Neil was attacked this morning by the lake. John can't make out the full message, but he hears enough to know that Neil is at the lake, so he decides to head head there, hoping to find his friend alive. After gathering supplies, Neil and Abby continue their drive, but soon the car runs out of gas. Neil tells Abby to stay in the car and lock the door, warning her not to leave no matter what. With just a knife in his hand, he sets off on foot toward the nearby gas station. As Neil walks along the empty road, the quiet feels eerie. When he reaches the station, he grabs 2 containers from the store. The place is completely deserted, and Neil starts to wonder if the people there have already been infected and gone somewhere else. Meanwhile, John arrives at the lake, looking desperately for Neil. As he searches, his eyes land on something horrifying: the body of the woman who attacked Neil earlier. The sight sends a chill down his spine. While filling up the containers, Neil is suddenly attacked by a zombie. It looks like the gas station attendant who got infected by the virus has now turned into one of them. To fight back, Neil pours gasoline all over the zombie and sets it on fire. The creature crawls, burning, but Neil doesn't stick around. He quickly runs back to the car and drives off, heading straight to the gas station to fill up the car. As Neil pulls up, Abby sees the burnt man crawling on the ground, and she's horrified. Neil tells her to grab everything she can from the store and hurry. She's in shock, but she knows they have no time to waste. Meanwhile, John is still searching for Neil. He heads to their home, and as soon as he steps inside, he notices broken glass on the floor. He doesn't see the lifeless body in the dark, but the eerie silence tells him something is wrong. Then, the radio crackles to life again. John tries to reach Neil, but the signal is still too weak. Once the gas tank is full, Neil and Abby continue their drive. Neil decides to stop at the chief's house to warn him and hopefully get some help. When they arrive, the door is wide open, so Neil steps inside. He calls out for the chief, but there's no answer. As he walks through the house and enters the kitchen, he's shocked to see the chief's wife chopping meat. But when she turns to face him, he sees the terrifying truth. She's already infected. She lunges at Neil, and without any choice, he has to defend himself. He grabs a gun from the drawer, loads it quickly, and shoots, ending her life. But just then, another zombie, the chief's daughter, hears the gunshot and attacks Neil. He struggles with the child and is about to shoot when Abby bursts in, trying to stop him. In that moment of hesitation, the chief, now a zombie, jumps on Neil, knocking him to the ground. Seeing her husband being attacked, Abby grabs the gun and points it at the chief. But just then, the chief's daughter steps in, stopping Abby and dragging her away. Neil pushes the chief off of him with every ounce of strength he has left, then shoots him dead. Once the threat is over, Neil looks around frantically for Abby, hearing her scream as she runs away from the chief's daughter. He yells at her to run as fast as she can, but in his rush, Neil trips and falls off a cliff. He rolls down the rocky slope and crashes into the ground, hitting his head hard. As Neil lies there, dazed, a flashback appears. It's the day he lost his son, Ben. Ben was trying to run away from home, but Neil chased after him. Ben runs through the woods, yelling at his dad to leave him alone. One second Ben is there, and the next, Neil looks back and he's gone. Neil stands at the edge of a tall cliff, desperately searching for his son, Ben. Just when he thinks he's alone, Ben suddenly appears beside him. But as Ben turns to face him, Neil sees the horror. His son's face is already infected. Before Neil can react, Ben pushes him off the cliff. Neil falls into darkness. When he wakes up, it's already morning. Somehow, he wasn't attacked by any zombies while unconscious. But isn't it strange that he woke up untouched? He shakes off the feeling and walks back to the car, relieved to see Abby rummaging through their things. He's so happy she's still alive. But when Abby looks up at him, Neil's heart sinks. She's been infected too. With no time to lose, Neil continues to drive, trying to escape a group of zombie police officers chasing them. Abby, now tied up in the back seat, stares at him with a look of sadness and horror in her eyes. At the headquarters, everything seems calm and normal. John and the other officers go about their work, completely unaware of the chaos happening outside. No zombies, no outbreak, just another ordinary day. John asks his colleague if she's heard anything from Neil, but she hasn't. Just as he speaks, Neil tries to radio again. This time, John finally hears him, but the signal is still terrible. Neil's voice comes through like a whisper in a storm. John tries to tell him that he thinks he understands what's going on, but the words get lost in the static. Neil can hear John talking, but the connection is too broken. Realizing he won't get through, Neil tells John he's heading to the Wolf Pass Tower, hoping someone there can help them. John shouts to stop him, but Neil can't hear a thing anymore. Neil keeps driving toward the tower, his grip tight on the wheel. When he reaches the tower, he runs into a zombie police officer. Without hesitation, Neil shoots the officer, putting him down before he can get any closer. He makes his way to the tower's radio and urgently radios for medical help. He explains that something is happening in the town. People are turning into zombies, and his wife is infected. He asks for immediate assistance, hoping someone someone out there can hear him. As Neil continues to drive, he finally gets a clear signal. He's able to talk to John, and the relief is almost too much to handle. He explains his wife's condition and pleads for help. John listens and assures Neil that he understands what's happening. He promises to help and tells Neil to meet him at his house as soon as possible. Neil drives home, his heart racing with hope. He finally sees police vehicles parked in front of his house, and for a moment, it feels like help is near. He quickly steps out of the car and searches for John, eager to find him. Neil zip ties his wife's hands to stop her from attacking him, just in case. But as he approaches the house, he sees several police officers standing around him. His worst fear is realized. His colleagues, including John, have all been infected. Neil pulls out his gun and points it directly at John, thinking there's no way to save him. The tension is thick, but just as he's about to pull the trigger, the truth crashes down on him. There's no outbreak, no infection. The whole thing has been a figment of his mind. John sees Neil holding the gun, clearly not thinking straight, so he orders him to drop the weapon. Just before Neil can fire, John shoots him first. As Neil falls, he catches a glimpse of his reflection in the side mirror of the car. His heart drops when he realizes he's a zombie too. He refuses to believe it. He can't accept that he's become one of the monsters he's been fighting against. In reality, Abby is crying, begging him to stop, and telling him everything is going to be okay. Neil sees flashes of everything he's seen. The zombies in the park who were actually just people having fun, the chief and his wife defending themselves from him, the woman from the lake, and the others who turned out to be normal too. But in Neil's mind, they were all monsters, and he was too. Another flashback takes Neil back to the day Ben disappeared. Neil is running after Ben, trying to talk to him, but Ben wants him to leave him alone. They end up struggling over Ben's bag, and in the chaos, Ben trips and falls down the steep cliff. Neil screams in shock and pain, then rushes down to find him. He only finds Ben's clothes, but Ben is nowhere to be seen. Neil looks around desperately, but there's no sign of him. In reality, Ben is right in front of him, coughing up blood from the fall until he takes his last breath. It turns out that the trauma was too much for Neil's mind. Something inside him blocked the memory of seeing Ben and triggered the hallucinations that made everyone around him seem like monsters. If you were in Neil's shoes, do you think you would be able to tell the difference between reality and your mind playing tricks on you? Let me know what you think in the comments. So if you like this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications for more recaps. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Warner Movie Recaps.